Hey, welcome to episode 58 of the Clive Barker Podcast. This is Paul Gerrard and Max. So Paul Gerrard is from Hellraiser Origins. He's the sort of the mastermind behind the design and the look of Hellraiser Origins. He's a graphic designer. He's done a whole ton of movies: Wrath of the Titans, Battle Los Angeles, the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Seventh Son. So he's working on a bunch of stuff right now. There's concept art that he's done for a lot of movies. So anyway, we talk about Hellraiser Origins and particularly what their plans would be for that kind of a movie and what they're hoping will happen. It was a pretty good episode. Jose was not available, so it's just me, and then Max kind of filled in, and he helped out a lot because he had a lot of questions about it too. So yeah, episode 58, Paul Gerrard and Hellraiser Origins. Hello. Hey.
Hey, hi.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Good. I'm Ryan, and Max has joined us also.
Hello,
Hey,
Paul.
hi, Max. Hey, hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Excellent.
So we're representing 3 different time zones.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, welcome. This is episode 58 of the Clive Barker Podcast. Sorry, I've got a couple that are still waiting, so I had to figure that out. And with us today is Max. You do the Pyramid Gallery site and the Labyrinth.
Yes. Here representing Mark Buckle from Down Under.
Yeah. So for Mark Buckle right now, it is 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. But for us, it's Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. for me. So
we're all over the place.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and also, of course, Paul Gerrard. And,
Hi. Yeah.
And Paul, you're a graphic, or you're a conceptual artist, right, for films?
That's right. Concept artist and wannabe producer.
And your work can be seen in Wrath of the Titans, Battle Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And some upcoming movies as well, right?
Yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there's a pretty awesome rendition of Videodrome on the cards as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
I'll be involved with that in a big way. Looking forward to that one.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's an old favorite as well, just like Hellraiser.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good segue. So speaking of that, of course, we're here to talk about Hellraiser Origins. And this is was this your conception?
It was. It started from email rants between me and a friend, John Gallagher. We were talking about the really poor state of the franchise.
Yeah.
And we heard that Dimension were open to pitch work. So I decided to have a go at doing Pinhead to start with. I've always wanted to reimagine a big iconic character.
Mm-hmm.
And it just literally snowballed, and I spent probably a whole year just doing Hellraiser Origins.
Oh, wow. Well, and it shows. I mean, I think I've seen movie pitches before. Like, there was a pitch trailer for the Tortured Souls movie where they just cut together scenes from other movies together to sort of show the tone of the movie.
That's it. Yeah.
But yours is a trailer that's got an enormous amount of work to it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I worked on when I did Battle Los Angeles, the director contacted me for the designs of the alien, but also for the pitch work. And it was an extremely elaborate pitch, and from doing that with him, I kind of got to know how they did it and how you've really got to up your game if you want to get things made, you know. 'Cause I've seen myself, I've seen a lot of pitches just A4 PDF with like you said, a montage movie. It's not good enough, really. You've got to really go out there full on.
And it seems that more and more these days, if you want something done, you kind of have to do it yourself.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And plus nobody will pay for it, so you've got to you've got to motivate people, and you've got to, like you said, you got to do it yourself.
So there's been, of course, 9 Hellraiser movies, and the first 4 are the only ones that really have any continuity. And I've kind of made this argument before that after number 4, just about every Hellraiser movie is almost a remake, just because they have no continuity with the previous movies, and
sure.
and the real disservice that they've done to the fans is a lot of those are a script from some other movie that's been sitting in a drawer for 10 years, and they pull it out and say, make this guy Pinhead, and now you got a Hellraiser movie.
Well, they're stuck in a loop. I mean, pretty much all the Hellraiser movies are stuck in a loop, and what we want to do is break that loop straight off.
Yeah.
So that should this movie ever get made or into production somehow, you could have spin-offs from that aren't just the same retreading of the same story over and over.
Yeah.
That was one of the big goals from the start.
Yeah, and it's those movies have also been they've also been reusing a sort of a Jacob's Ladder plot where people don't realize they're in hell until the end of the movie.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
So they've done that, hasn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. So, this is definitely a fresh look at the Hellraiser mythology. And
sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'll just say it's taken the mythology that Clive set up, and it's been as totally respectful to his vision at the start, but then it's reimagining it all in a different direction, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, it's setting it up so that. Like we say, you can go off and do different things from it, and you could have prequels, sequels, whatever you want. But it's that imaginative side that I absolutely loved from the first film and the book that I wanted to kind of bring back.
And I thought it was interesting that people were, and you hear this comment all the time, especially after Hellraiser 9, no Doug Bradley, no Pinhead.
Yeah.
And I think you can almost take that as a compliment, because it's like they think that that's a trailer for an actual movie that's coming out, instead of a pitch. And that's a testament to how much work went into that pitch trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, so that's a good thing. I mean, I've lost count of more times I've kind of re-explained what it is, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too, is that Clive Barker just announced that he's been in talks with the Weinstein Company about doing a Hellraiser remake, and people have been getting your pitch confused with Clive Barker's announcement. Yeah. And like in Clive Barker's post on Facebook, somebody will go, "Oh yeah, this is what he's talking about," and they put a link to your trailer.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, hopefully the two entities can exist and coexist. That's in an ideal world. Yeah. We just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we're all working on the same goal. I mean, I started this because huge fan of Clive and his work, and I started also because I've read so many bad stories about how the Weinsteins were ruining the franchise, and how the pitch work that was sent to them over the last maybe 5-10 years. They were retreading the same thing again and again. It's like the Evil Dead remake. Fine film, but it's been there, done that.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Paul, if you could maybe explain to us a little bit about this Origins concept of this being somewhat a primordial aspect of Hellraiser, and that this would exist in the Hellraiser world maybe before Captain Elliot Spencer becomes Pinhead and that type of thing. I think it's one of the more interesting aspects of the pitch itself.
Well, it's Pinhead in terms of he's the iconic visual. So you'd have elements that are in the Pinhead character that we all love and know, but it would be a primordial kind of almost beginning of the Cenobite and beginning of the Hell Pinhead. It wouldn't be along the same. It wouldn't be Elliot. It wouldn't be the one we know it. It'd be something, like you said, it'd be a raw version, if you like.
Yeah. One thing I noticed from your from the pitch trailers, it seemed like the hell in your Hellraiser seemed more chaotic and less ordered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I also capture from some of the the Cenobite illustrations you have done. There's almost like a tribal element to the Cenobites this time around.
Yeah, exactly. It's if you take the raw element of each character and you strip off all the veneer of the last 3,000 or 4,000 years to almost maybe pre-Neolithic, maybe. It's that kind of. The engineer is more like a twisted version of Gaia, rather than the engineer we see in the colored movies.
And I love the concept art for the engineer, but I do have to say, where are the wheels?
That's it.
No, I love the engineer though. I love the original engineer too. I think that
exactly.
I think that a lot of fans will have a soft spot for him, even if he was probably difficult to pull off in 1987.
Sure. Oh, exactly. It was 1987, and it was great. I mean, wheels and all.
Yeah, I said this before, but I love when he punched Steve in the face.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder how much of the story is in your head for this pitch. Is there a loose script that you have going on, or is it just all visual at this point?
Well, what I've tried to do is create a world, a living, breathing world, and it's illustrated to the nines. I mean, what you see on the webpage is maybe 20% of the illustrations that I've done.
Holy cow! There's a lot of that. Was going to be one of my questions too. There's a lot of stuff on there. Conceptual art and production photos, and I thought that would be all of it. I had no idea there was only 20%. That's amazing.
Yeah, and what it is, I literally been living and breathing this for a year, and the idea is somebody, if you wanted to, let's say, if another director or writer wanted to write a script for it, they could, but I do have a story penned from start to finish.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then Mike, the director of the teaser, also has his story that links into mine as well.
Okay.
So there's different ways we could take it, but as long as I feel as long as the world is there and people can plug into it as they will.
And we won't try to hit you up too much for information about your stories, just because I know you want to keep those kind of close to the vest. But what we can get from the trailer is it looks like when someone opens the box, instead of the pinheads coming out or the pinheads being called, instead the person, it looks like they get sucked into hell.
Well, to be honest, the trailer is more of a metaphor than anything else.
Okay.
It's not so much it's not a scene from the movie as such. I mean, the Leviathan in the trailer represents a flower. And the Garden of Sin and all these kind of brutalities are feeding this growth. So it's not. And the fact that the guys opening the box, if you want to pitch to the studio, you can't really pitch something vastly different. You've got to still show them the guy open the box, and then show them your version of hell.
Okay.
So really, the trailer is about showing a few things. It's about showing a redesign of Pinhead in the way, the vibe we want it, and it's about showing it being epic, biblical, and polished. It's got to, even though it's fan made, it's done for free as a homage. It's still made. Those 2 minutes have got to look like 2 minutes from a blockbuster.
And the transition between box and hell it put me in mind of almost like a wormhole effect.
Yeah.
Well, originally, one of the reasons why we're kind of like a year behind schedule is we wanted a shot where the camera would go into the box and the box would have an intricate maze system, and it would fly through the maze, and you'd have chains and blood and all inside the box itself, and then down deeper and deeper through all different maze sections, and it'd kind of come out into hell. But trying to get that done for free.
Right.
There was just no chance. We had vendors trying, but then more work came in for them. They had to stop and such. So we thought that the portal was a bit more Paradise Lost-esque. It made a bit more sense.
Right.
And it was quicker. Yeah.
And the design of Pinhead, his wounds look almost like infected and like the wounds on a corpse.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was. I wanted to strip away layers. It was a metaphor of you pull back the top flesh, and the layers inside have still got patterns. It's still got symbols.
Oh, okay.
So the whole thing is a metaphor for the fact that this guy could exist over centuries, or this incarnation of this symbolic Lord, Dark Lord.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That time and at the end of time, and you can see that in the visual representation of his actual body.
Okay. Yeah. When you pull in close, you can see the designs and etches in his wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the wounds, there's like druidic symbols and patterns in the actual deep flesh. That when it comes to the forefront, is more Siberian and cruciform in the symbolism.
I know the podcast did some background into the Pinhead lore for the Pinhead comics a few episodes back, and I was wondering if Paul, if you had any connection with these comic book passive, because they displayed a Pinhead who actually was pre-incarnate in time. So I wondered if there was any kind of reference to that at all, or is this just a happy accident?
Happy accident. I've never read the comics.
Okay.
To be honest, I've never been a huge comic fan, so I've never read those.
Well, yeah, the idea was that Pinhead was a spirit that inhabited different bodies over the history of man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, I'd be inclined more to go down with the bloodlines and DNA and things like that. That's more where I've come from. I've tried to create the world from a scientific point as well, you see.
Oh, I see.
So everything clicks and everything works.
Kind of like, what is that movie that we were talking about that in space?
Event Horizon?
Yeah, Event Horizon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That was good. The stuff they cut out looked really good.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of the shots they missed, and that looked awesome.
Yeah, I've always counted that as a Hellraiser movie more than some of the sequels. So,
sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Leviathan in your concept work looks kind of Giger-esque and a little bit like some kind of a Lovecraft deity that's hard to, when you look at it, it's hard to make sense of it.
Well, it would shift patterns. It would be into a secret. The influence for Leviathan was Henry Moore sculptures. I just loved his shapes and his the aesthetics of his sculptures. So I used a bit of that, and then, like I said, it would be constantly moving and shifting, and it would also be interpreted in different ways, depending on whoever would see it.
Okay.
So if you had a guy, sorry.
No, I was going to say there's a real gritty, almost like Terry Gilliam aspect to. I mean that as a full compliment. To the way that but particularly the Leviathan figure looks like to me. So,
and we'll put links to the website here on the show notes, so that as you're listening to this, you can follow along to what we're talking about. Because this is obviously we're discussing something that's really visual at this point. And of course, the Leviathan of Hellraiser 2 was a diamond, but the original concept for it was kind of a blobby monster, like with tentacles and stuff, but they couldn't get it into the budget.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. I didn't read that. No.
Yeah, it almost had like a more of like an H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu type. Was the original? I think that's where the tentacles came from. That you see in Hellraiser 2.
Oh yeah. Like the one connecting to Dr. Channard.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. If you look at the bottom of the Leviathan in one of the images, I'm not sure which one. There's a little regeneration chamber right at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So it's a bit of a nod to the Hellraiser 2.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to look that up.
And the Leviathan, I guess what you could say are its shoulders have the pattern of the puzzle box in them.
Yeah, it's etched all over, all through it. Yeah.
Wow.
Really neat design.
Thank you.
So, as this Clive Barker news came out, did you feel like there may be a danger that you were competing with Clive Barker to make a Hellraiser remake?
It was definitely bittersweet. I mean, overwhelmed at the fact that, I mean, fantastic, Clive's going to return to Hellraiser, and that's what everybody wants. But also the timing kind of kicked me in the teeth a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a week before we released Hellraiser Origins.
Right.
Yeah.
After taking a step back, it's great news for Hellraiser Origins because it's bringing Hellraiser to the limelight again.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's going to start thinking, you know, how does it move forward? Maybe the studios will look at how it moves forward.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're a bunch of guys that were pitching to work on Hellraiser.
Yeah.
If it's not Origins, then who knows? Maybe it's a collaboration. Maybe it's a spin-off. We just want to work on that franchise.
I thought your response after the announcement that came from the Barker camp was really graceful. That basically you were saying this is a fan expression, and this is and so I think that was the really threw me over as far as actually backing this project, because I can understand, because I deal with a number of fan artworks, over the years, and so it's awesome to know that first and foremost you're a fan of the series, mm-hmm. and not just someone who's wanting to capitalize on the Hellraiser name. Yeah. But so I think you can tell that from that response you made through Facebook that you're a true fan.
That's it. I don't know. It's hard to gauge what people think of what we're doing, but I'm sat here with, puzzle boxes and Hellraiser statues all over the place. I decided to do it because I'm a huge fan, and what I found phenomenal was I took my posters and my portfolio all over the country, and I just went into prosthetics companies and I showed them my ideas, and they were on instantly. They didn't take any money. They just, for the love of the franchise and respect for Hellraiser, these people came on board and worked for free and got this off the ground. I'm just humbled at the fact that it came together like that.
How many people have been involved with the Origins project, roughly, since it started?
I would say probably a core team of about 6, and then for the actual teaser, in the region of about 35, 40 crew, and then 150 cast.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's to put together that pile of writhing bodies below Pinhead? Yeah.
You'd be amazed how small it looks when you've got 100 people tagged in. I thought it'd look huge, but 100 people doesn't make a huge crowd, unfortunately. When they're all squished together, they're all full of blood and naked and very close together. But we managed to duplicate it a few times visually. And,
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And this female character wearing black with blood all over her, she's not one of the pile of bodies, right? Is she more of a main character, or?
She's more of a kind of an early Cenobite, if you like.
Oh,
I call her a guard, and one of the backstory is that she'd be static, she wouldn't really move, and people would come up to her and push the pins through her face, and it'd be kind of ritual, like a ritualistic, pain and maybe a little bit of sex magic in there as well, and all these kind of lords or priests would come out and put the pins through her face, so she'd stand there for eternity, and get pretty messed up.
Huh. Wow. So and then there's another picture here. Sorry, I'm just kind of going through all these pictures again, but there's one here of some. It looks like somebody's opening the box, and then there's. This is kind of a poster, it looks like. And then there's a shadow of the engineer behind him.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that's it. It's and you've got Steel Ghost's box design behind him as well.
Oh, okay,
Right.
gotcha. Yeah, and that was another interesting thing too. Is the grid on the pattern that they put around the puzzle box of the squares within the squares.
The Marilla.
Yeah.
Well, if you look, that's it's on the floor in the trailer. And it's on Pinhead's face. That's the scars on his face.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't make that connection. I saw it in the trailer, but
And the nails are kind of intersecting the scars of the Marilla, and each nail
oh, okay.
is more like an antenna, if you like. It's like along with the nails, that if you notice the chakra points on each chakra point on the character is really scarred and disfigured. So the theory is that the whole body with the nails and the disfigurement of the chakra points puts him in this constant, evolving, almost anti-spiritual frequency. So he's generating this kind of essence of pain over and over and over.
Interesting.
Wow.
Again, many of these pictures and concepts can be seen at hellraiserorigins.com,
Yeah.
which was actually put together by our friend Mark Buckle at the Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Mark's been great. I mean, we've been working together for a month or so now and chatting every day. And he put together. I don't know whether it's okay to mention the competition we're working on.
Yes, we'll be. The three of us are doing a competition for a new Cenobite design for the Origins project. Both Mark at labyrinth-website.com and pyramid-gallery.com, along with the Hellraiser Origins and Paul Gerrard, will be releasing a Hellraiser music box as a prize for the winning to the winning entry.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, this will be running through November, and you can mail your entry to Mark Buckle at me.com.
Okay, so the competition is already mentioned on Facebook?
Yes.
It's basically we want people to design a Cenobite in writing, and I'll illustrate it and we'll post it later in the month.
Excellent.
Wow. So they would be doing a written description and maybe like a rough sketch, and then you would flesh it out.
Well, you wouldn't even need a sketch, just the written description.
Okay.
If they want to, perhaps a backstory of the why and the how, and then I would take that as a brief, and I would illustrate it for them.
Okay. I was wondering, is there any certain tone or anything they should know about this world that they're creating the Cenobite for? Is there anything different or changes to the mythology in particular that you'd be looking for, or is it
just aesthetically keep it away from that kind of goth fetish vibe? That's the only thing I would say. And other than that, it's Cenobites in that world can come in all shapes and sizes. They could be animals, insects, they could be trees, they could be anything you want.
One of the early concept pieces that I believe Steel Ghost actually shared with me was something that looked like it had like an insect head at some point. I'm not sure if that's been released on the site itself. It was like it showed some sort of insect head Cenobite with like maybe a child, if I remember right.
Placenta Boy. Yeah, that was a really early version. That's not going to be released as part of that world.
Okay.
Yeah, it was playing around with different. There was more of a H.P. Lovecraft vibe at the time.
I saw that you had also done your rendition of a Cenobite that Clive Barker recently designed, with the clockwork in his head and in his chest.
Oh yeah, Jade. Yeah, that was good fun. He posted it on his Facebook page, and I liked the sketch, and I asked permission if I could illustrate it, and to my amazement, he said yes. So
cool. Well, that's
so
right.
I went for it. Yeah.
Has he seen it?
He has. He liked it. Yeah.
Oh, great,
really
great. Yeah, that's been the nice thing about Clive Barker being on Facebook now, is that that he's been interacting with fans more now than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rare thing, I think, for directors and writers and artists to do that. I mean, I wish more would do that, to get in touch with their fans.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's been a real shift because there's been so many different artists that I've been able to get in contact with. I've been, they've been my heroes my whole life, and then with this age of Facebook, it's just weird that every now and then, you'll get likes on from these people that you've been liking your whole life. It's such a weird world now, but
yeah.
I really like the change because it really levels the playing field.
Oh yeah, I mean, geez, I couldn't have done this podcast if it weren't for Facebook.
Right.
It would have been a lot different.
I started off hating Facebook, being really anti online, and then I had a conversation with Bob Eggleton on Facebook. I mean, the guy I grew up with his art books, and a few people like that. It's just, like you said, it's a great way to keep in touch, and I'm getting likes from your idols. It's good.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and it seems like you can be more directly connected with people more often in the world of middlemen, and it seems like that's sort of fading away.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is a good thing. We're cutting out a lot of the BS.
Yeah. And that's another thing too that people need to understand is that Clive Barker sold the rights to Hellraiser when he made the first movie, thinking that there'd probably never be any sequels. So. A lot of people mistakenly believe that Clive Barker has been responsible for all the Hellraiser movies, and he's not. And in fact, he has had no input on any of them since Hellraiser 4. They don't even put his name on the posters anymore.
No, that's it.
Yeah. I saw a comment one time where some guy said, Clive Barker wrote Hellraiser 9 just as a cash-in so he could make money.
I swear people don't read.
Yeah.
I've had so many scathing comments, so I just have to say, just please read.
Yeah.
Well, just visually, you can see where Barker left off with the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really apparent that he hasn't had much to do with a good number of the sequels.
Yeah. And he only wrote and directed number 1, and he came up with a story for 2 and 3 and 4, but he didn't actually write the scripts or direct them.
That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then,
those were mainly Pete Atkins, right?
Yeah.
As far as
And then after that, it was just free reign. Let's take some scripts for other movies and make Hellraiser movies out of them.
Yeah, I read that. I think it's Paul Kane's book, and I read that one, and he talked about 2 of the movies were done back to back in Prague or something. And it's just generic horror films that just slapped in Pinhead and said, let's go.
Yeah, 7 and 8. That was Deader and what is that? Hell World.
Yeah. Those were both filmed at the same time. Where was that in? Was that Romania? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Crazy.
What can you tell us about the musical score that you used for the pitch, Paul?
That was Mike's doing. He managed to get Lorne Buffel, the guy that did the score for Inception and the latest Batman films. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
that's amazing.
I think Hans Zimmerman was busy, so we got Lorne Buffel. It's amazing. I mean,
that's great.
My hat's off to Mike. I mean, he really went to town to try and get this done.
It's also a testament to how many Clive Barker fans and Hellraiser fans there are, and it seems like no matter how terrible these sequels are, they can't kill that.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, the actor who plays Pinhead, have we seen him before in anything else?
No.
Okay.
John's great. If you got time, I can tell you. I actually met him at a garden party. It was 1 week before I was meant to kind of find an actor. I've been looking all over on online sites for bit part actors and actors that would do it and whatnot. Couldn't find anybody I liked. And I'm sat in this garden party. Never met him before in my life. And my partner Michelle, I'm saying to her, that's the guy. That's the guy. But I didn't have the nerve to go up and just say, this random guy, do you want to come down and play Pinhead? So my wife actually asked him, and he said yes.
Oh wow! All right.
He's never done acting before. I thought, and he's just perfect. It was something about his face. It was a little bit early Doug and a little bit Peter Weller.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just thought, great. I cracked it with him. So once we got the prosthetics on him as well, I just thought he looked great.
Yeah.
So is your hell kind of like an alternate dimension, or kind of like
no? It's hell on Earth, but it's Earth is hell. It's before it splits, if you like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So was the actor was it the actor's voice who spoke for Pinhead, or was that dubbed by another actor?
It was his voice, but I think Mike filtered it a great deal to deepen it. He had a broad Geordie accent, which is, if you know what Geordie is, it's Newcastle accent in the UK, and it's quite distinctive. So he tweaked that a little bit. We almost had, actually, the possibility of Doug Bradley doing the voice. But,
I had heard that. Mark had told me that might have been a possibility, like the week running up to the release of the pitch itself. I heard.
Yeah. I was talking to Russell Charrington. I've known him for quite a while, and he said he'd like, if he could, maybe get Doug and do the voice, but there just wasn't time, and
right.
kind of like in the hands of grading, and there was no way of getting it and lip syncing it, and it just wasn't possible.
That's something that you couldn't really do over the computer. You'd have to do it in person.
Well, you could do it on the computer, but the way the trailer was set up, there just wasn't time to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and people again need to understand that this is a pitch. So
exactly, it's a fan-made pitch, and
it's just a really elaborate and really well thought out pitch.
Yeah. Plus the fact, I mean, there's two trains of thought of whether the character would benefit from that link to Doug anyway, or whether it would be in a complete singular entity by itself, something fresh and new.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great point. Without getting too personal, comparatively, how much money have you put into this pitch as opposed to maybe another pitch you would do? Did you treat this specially as far as like maybe putting more money into it than you would have, for something else?
Well, there was three of us. I'll be perfectly frank, I put in the region of £4,000 into this.
Oh, wow.
But that's, even though I say it's free, you still got to pay for food and travel and insurance.
That's like 7,000 American dollars, right?
It was. It was pretty much all my savings went into this trailer, because as an artist, like I'm sat here in a flat on my partner's desk, and for me to go from that to have the opportunity to film Pinhead in London, I couldn't give that up.
Right.
So I just went for it, and spent all my money. But at the end of the day, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Things like that don't come around too often,
Yeah.
Right.
If it wasn't Hellraiser, it wouldn't have got done.
Right.
Hellraiser itself helped the momentum. So.
That's what I sort of thought. I thought I could really sense that there was a passion behind getting working for a Hellraiser pitch of any sort. So it really shows.
That's it. Yeah.
Where do you see this going next, Paul? As far as where do you think as far as the pitch now? Have you heard anything from anybody in particular, or what's the next step for the pitch?
I think it's still early days, because obviously you had Halloween, and a lot of companies were shut down for Halloween. A lot of producers, I've emailed a lot of producers and directors and such, and like I say, it's early days to get replies yet.
Right.
I'm hoping for involvement in any Hellraiser franchise. I think Hellraiser Origins has got prequel material, and also, should Clive go ahead as the remake, this could easily be the sequel to that, or even I'm in discussions with a guy I know now about a game franchise.
Oh yeah.
I think it has game written all over it as well.
Sure.
Well, that's a
So
good
who
point.
knows?
Yeah, and actually, I kind of remembered now what I was thinking about. I think that if people object to this movie, I mean, you think about, for one thing, the Weinsteins have control over what Hellraiser movies get made, and they just pretty much will do whatever they want.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so if people are, and I think, Max, you had brought this up before, if people are upset about the idea of a remake or a reboot because of, there have been some terrible remakes in the past.
Sure.
Anything is better than what has been done in the past probably 10 years or so.
Well, along with the wonderful fan expression of Gary Tunnicliffe that he did for No More Souls a few years back.
Right, yeah.
I see this as being, this is etched in my memory more than even a sequel would be. So I would place even just this pitch higher up than a number of the sequels that we've seen.
Yeah,
so for me, as a representation of Hellraiser and art, I think that what Paul's done is, I put it up there just like the Tunnicliffe expression he did for No More Souls.
Yeah.
And so in one sense, I think that, it's almost like you can count this as almost a complete work in itself, right, as it stands, but with the potential of being mined for the wonderful story and the wonderful atmosphere that it shows. So
and it teases something much, much bigger that is hard to wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been the frustrating part of you can't, as it is a pitch for something in the future, you can't release everything, you can't give everything away.
Yeah.
It's a real hard balance, because you want to tell people what it's about. You want to tell people about the esoteric nature of every single element and how it works, but you can't. You've got to hold back somewhat.
Well, and that was some of the magic of why we all like Hellraiser to begin with, because when we first saw the first Hellraiser movie, excuse me, I hope you guys didn't hear that. My throat, a malware thing just came up. But anyway,
no.
Okay. But anyway, I think the original Hellraiser movie was so mysterious, and what the Cenobites were and what their motives were, and and especially when in Hellbound, when it opened up to the labyrinth, that it opened up so many more questions, so it makes this background of mystery is a very important thing for Hellraiser, and I think that's kind of what Origins has done, as far as it's reopening that idea of that you don't quite know what the world is, and so
sure.
Yeah.
What's amazing about the Hellraiser world is that even now, so many years on, I go to a lot of kind of medieval reenactments and things like this, and I've seen the weapons that the Cenobites have in reenactments. I've seen medieval torture weapons that are exactly the same, and I'm like, wow, that's from the Chatterer. I've got talking to them. And then I watched a film last night. It's called The Sin Eater with Heath Ledger, and they enter St. Peter's Church in Rome, and on the ground of St. Peter's Church is the symbol of the box. And I never knew that. I never knew. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll have to look that up then. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
One of the patterns is right on the floor.
One of the annoying things that I've seen from people whose response to Origins is the idea of Pinhead holding a sword. It's like, well, why wouldn't he hold any kind of weapon like that? I mean, just because he used like a meat cleaver or whatever it was in the first movie, that were attached to his belt. I don't understand why the idea of some other, utility is so offensive to people. But I guess it breaks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The preconceived idea is that if you have a sword, you're going to be waving it about like a knight. But
right,
it's tricky because it's not so much a sword. It's what's called a Kree, and it's an occult ritual item. And
it's like a dagger, right? It's a ceremonial dagger.
Yeah, it's used for bloodletting. It's bloodletting, but it also contains the soul of the victim and stuff like this. And I've lost. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing about that is that we see Pinhead using his chains and hooks,
Sure.
but it's always teased that they have all these torture weapons, around their belts or on them. But we don't see them use it, but we know that they do because you look at what they did to Frank in the first Hellraiser, and he's just a bunch of pieces of his face on the floor that they're assembling. You know that they used their weapons on him. It's just
that's
just
it.
teased. Yeah.
Like I said, some of the weapons they have are actual medieval torture devices.
Yeah.
And they use them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they would have to. They don't. You know that they don't just stand around and look scary.
That's it. Like I said, the Kree is integral to the story, and I was in two minds as to show it or not. But I thought, if eventually we can release the story, then it will all make a lot more sense.
Yeah, right. And I could imagine it's really tricky to have to hold stuff back when you want to show everything that's cool, so that you can get so that you can get support.
Yeah. Well, plus, if you look at the trailer, he's just nicking all these bodies over and over and over.
Yeah.
And they're in this perpetual state of they get slashed, they get cut, and then they'll heal, and they get cut again. So it's all feeding the Leviathan. So he's not in full combat or anything like that. It's not an action film.
And right. the Pinhead of Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 was so dispassionate, and almost it seemed like he was bored with his job, And do you get that sense from Hellraiser Origins, or is this something, or is this going to be something different, or is he going to be more passionate?
It'd be a lot different. It's hard to go into detail because it gives too much away. But it's all I can say. It's a very raw version of the character that would become Pinhead down the bloodlines, And it's him in different incarnations before he gets to that Dark Priest as well. Okay. And none of them are nice. It doesn't start off like a normal man and become Pinhead. None of the incarnations are nice.
So I wonder if you'd be able to answer this. Will you be using names, or do you project that you would use names like Leviathan or the Labyrinth or things like that, or would it have a pre-existent name that would tie into it?
I think we'd keep it vague. I think it would be the best way to do it. I mean, everybody would know. We'd probably reference something in the story itself. I've named them all as they are: Leviathan, Engineer, but at the end of the day, it would be quite vague.
Well, and that nothing had names in Hellraiser, right? Nobody said the Engineer except in the novel and in the credits of Hellraiser, but it wasn't. Nobody in the movie Hellraiser. Nobody actually said, "Oh, and I'm going to be calling the Engineer."
Right.
Yeah. It's like you said before, Max. The mystery is good.
Yeah.
And it's important to keep a huge element of that in no matter what story you tell.
Well, and Hellraiser was a story about a dysfunctional family, right? And then there's this other part of it that ends up turning the whole world upside down, and it was a strange kind of mysterious background to that fueled that pushed the story along.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Plus, it was a classic kind of first director film. It was, at the heart of it was a few people in a house. I mean, that kind of storytelling has been done over and over because you contain the story and you can contain the budget. Yeah, and it's just phenomenal what was achieved within that scenario. It was an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah. Well, it has like almost like a stage production, like a play where you have just this one set that the actors can act on, as a platform, as opposed to some like Hellraiser 2, where it's this vast vista of the labyrinth, which in turn probably wasn't as big as the original house and stage.
Well, Hellraiser Origins is aiming for that kind of epic feel, though. I mean,
like Hellraiser 2.
Sure, yeah. Imagine Hellraiser 2, but on a kind of global scale. And I haven't held back at all, but I know a lot of people come on board and said, well, you couldn't shoot this for less than 70 million, and Weinstein will probably give you about 50p. So it's just it'd definitely be hard to get off the ground that way, but I guess again it's scalable. You get the right people and it's scalable.
It's hard to know what they're thinking. I mean, we know it's about money, and if people are so disgusted with Hellraiser Revelations that they don't want to watch another movie again, maybe they will realize that something fresh and actually good is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's also partly our fault as the fans, because we keep buying those movies when they make them.
Yeah.
You know, and
I mean, plus the question is could you release something that different without showing the original again? Would you have to kind of at this point in time show a remake before you open the world up to something bigger? I think that's a big question as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
for fans, we'd like, well, we've seen it, we want to see something new because we've moved on. But for the new generation, maybe they do need to see that remake first. I'm not quite sure.
I know from speaking to fans that I think that a lot of people are put off by the amount of mythology behind Hellraiser at this point, and they feel like they have to study to know something about the world, whereas a new approach might be the best, to bring in new fans and also satisfy old fans in the sense that create something new that doesn't necessarily, you don't need to have all the comic books or all the, to see all 9 movies to appreciate. So
that's it, yeah. Or maybe that is the case then. Maybe, the remake would be the better option to come first. To introduce people again, and then you can open up the world even further.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complicated mythology, and Clive Barker's writing a sequel, or he's just finished writing a sequel to The Hellbound Heart. So you have the novel mythology, you have the comic book mythology, and you have the movie mythology, and then within the movie mythology, how much of it is canon? Do you only consider the first 4 movies canon? Is all of it, or maybe 6 because it has Kirsty in it, even though she doesn't act like Kirsty? It's so complex,
Hellraiser Origins tried to kind of stay away from the characters at the end of the movie, apart from the Pinhead, which is just the kind of visual of him.
Yeah.
And the rest would be, not simpler storytelling, but less mythology. The mythology is there in it's awash with it everywhere, but the story would be woven through a Hollywood story, if you like. And then if you know the backstories, you can see it. It's there to kind of like in the background as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think that we've kind of come to the end of our hour. But thanks so much for coming on and telling us about this. And I'll be putting links up on the show notes to the Hellraiser Origin website, which is hellraiserorigins.com. And then Labyrinth what's the web address for Labyrinth again?
www.labyrinth-website.com.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And hellraiserorigins.com as well.
Yeah.
Well, can I just quickly say, in this world of digital stats, the more views we get for the trailer, the more likely it is the studios will sit up and take notice.
Yeah, and you really should watch the trailer. It's amazing.
Yeah. And also enter the contest that we're running between the sites, and contact Mark Buckle at me.com with your description of a Cenobite that Paul Gerrard will illustrate probably at the beginning of December. Is that or at the end of November? Paul?
Yeah, just give me about a week to do it. And,
so, are you going to pick one?
We'll pick one.
Okay.
We'll pick one.
Have you gotten any entries so far?
I think we
Mark,
have, but
Yeah, Mark said that he received a few, but we haven't. I don't think he put anything up yet. But I think we've already received a few. But we'll be giving away a Lament Configuration music box to the winner. And but more than anything, you'll see the Cenobite brought to life by Paul Gerrard for the Origins project.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can get posters together as well. And signed posters and things like that. I'm sure we can do that.
Awesome.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you both. It's great to talk to you both.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you here and speak with you one-to-one here on the Clive Barker Podcast.
Yeah, it was great having both of you, and again, Max, and thanks so much, Paul Gerrard, and we'll be watching Hellraiser Origins to see where that goes.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. This has been episode 58 of the Clive Barker Podcast. Bandwidth for this episode was provided by Pyramid Gallery. So Max, who was our guest host for this episode, has been a great supporter of the podcast. Pyramid Gallery has financially helped to keep us going, and he was awesome. He sent me, when in that video where I broke the glass dome that goes over the puzzle box, I broke that. That was totally my fault, but he sent me a brand new one. So go to their website and check out their puzzle boxes. They're really great quality. The one that I have is a replica of the Hellraiser one, and it's got a music box inside. So go to Pyramid Gallery and check that out, and because they're awesome, they're great, and you'll see Max at horror conventions all the time. So yeah, Pyramid Gallery is the web address is pyramid-gallery.com. Yeah, www.pyramid-gallery.com. So yeah, awesome stuff over there, and you can reach us on the web at www.clivebarkercast.com. This podcast is on iTunes, so please leave us a review there if you're listening to us on iTunes. That helps us out a lot. We want more people to know about it. I know we're very specialized, but I still think there's a lot more Clive Barker fans out there that don't know about us. We're also on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. We have a Facebook page, so please go like that page. We have joined the Occupy Midian group on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. And the forum is www.clivebarkerfans.com/forum. Theme was by Colin Lakativa.